I once saw a little graphic on Pinterest that said doing things is better than not doing things. Oftentimes I repeat that to myself as a way to get myself moving whenever I am prone to just sitting around. I am fresh off of 2 weeks of rest being postpartum, and while that is a wonderful thing that I am so blessed to have, it definitely reminded me that my mind functions better whenever my hands are not idle, when I'm working on a project, when I'm doing things. And so I want to talk to you guys about that this week as I sew some overalls and make a few recipes for my family. We have a baby shower coming up, and lately my go-to gift has been a pair of handmade Billy overalls. It's a sewing pattern from The Ordinary Folk, and it is just seriously the cutest thing in the world. My daughter has several pairs and I am just obsessed. They are especially cute in a corduroy, and thankfully I had this really pretty red corduroy in my stash from the thrift store. So that is the project that I am working on this week. As you can imagine, after resting for a long time, I am very, very thankful to be sewing again. I enjoy cooking and making food, but thinking about food and planning meals is tough for me, which is one of the reasons why I love using Green Chef, and I'm excited to introduce them as a sponsor of today's video. I love that Green Chef makes healthy eating very simple and convenient. They handle the research, the meal planning, the grocery shopping, and then me and my husband get to do the cooking, which in my opinion is the fun part, and of course the eating of tasty meals that are nutritious for our bodies. Every Green Chef box delivers certified organic produce and responsibly sourced proteins. They offer healthy, science-backed meal plans like Mediterranean, high protein, high fiber, plant-based, and more. It can help you reach your goals. On top of Green Chef being convenient for me, simple, the instructions are really clear, it's tasty, it's healthy, it's all the things that I am looking for when it comes to food. It is also the most sustainable meal kit. Green Chef cuts grocery shopping food waste by 20% and offsets 100% of delivery emissions. I know that you guys will love using Green Chef just as much as my family has, so make sure and head to the link in my description and use my code. It'll get you started with 50% off, and you'll receive a free Graza olive oil set in your second and third boxes. Thanks so much to Green Chef for sponsoring today's video. Silly. You're silly. One of my goals for 2026 is to get better at cooking chicken. I realized sometime in like November that I really only ever make chicken shredded in the Instant Pot. I very, very rarely do it in the skillet or in the oven. So I want to get better at doing that. Now, you are seeing me shred some chicken right now in the Instant Pot because I didn't need the whole tray for my recipe, and that is a really easy way to just freeze it for us. But on this particular day, I wanted to try doing some chicken in the cast iron skillet, and I am doing a paleo chicken and broccoli, and I'm not gonna lie, it turned out really good. I'm not very good at the chicken thing, but I'm getting better, and so hopefully you guys will see me cooking a lot more like this year as I try and get better at this particular skill in the kitchen. I am so blessed to have been able to rest after having my daughter. I spent about 2 weeks kind of not doing homemaking tasks. I was out of bed, but I didn't do a lot of homemaking tasks during those 2 weeks, and that is an extreme blessing. I don't want this video to come across as me not recognizing the blessing that is, but if I'm being honest, I am not the proudest to admit that a lot of that 2 weeks was spent just kind of in bed and therefore just scrolling on my phone. And that taught me a lesson that I already knew, so I guess I should say it re-taught me a lesson that is just so bad for my mind. I really do believe that postpartum rest is extremely important, and honestly, I probably should have been doing something like reading a book, maybe taking up knitting, something other than just scrolling on Pinterest, because whenever I sit idle for too long, my brain literally gets in a fog. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but things become overwhelming that were no longer overwhelming. I just feel like my mind's in a cluttered state, and working with my hands and keeping our home is a way to basically like declutter my mind. I needed to get back in the sewing room anyways because this baby shower was coming up and the overalls were not made, but I am really grateful that the timing worked out right whenever I needed a good sewing project to work with my hands and feel productive. I could put my phone away and force my mind to rest while not being idle. This was definitely the best way for me to do that and is teaching me what I know my mind needs. Like I said, this is the most darling little pair of toddler overalls. It has these two big front pockets that are sewn into the seam and also a patch pocket with a little curve on the front. They are just my favorite things, and they have a cute little barrel leg. If you sew, I definitely recommend making these for your toddler or a toddler in your life. They are just the cutest things in the whole entire world. I often wonder why it is so hard for me to do the very obvious thing. When I think about what is best for living with my mind in a decluttered state, all the obvious things are true. It is good for me to set aside time to read my Bible. It is good for me to make plans with my friends and my family, to socialize, to talk to other moms and talk to other people. That is so good for my brain. It's good for me to get outside. And of course, like I already mentioned, it's good for me to get my hands moving on a productive task that does not involve my phone or has minimal involvement with the screen at all. Obviously, sewing has some screen involvement because I have to read the pattern instructions, but it's extremely minimal. This is not a video of me trying to convince you to sew. It's just what I really enjoy doing. Sewing in particular is really good for me because it also teaches me the value in moving slow and taking my time. Whenever I sew in a rush, things never quite turn out the way I want them to, but whenever I get the opportunity to really take my time and spend an entire week making one pair of overalls, which if you sew, you know that is a lot of time to spend on these. When I get that time, I usually end up with a result that I am really proud of and proud to put my name on, which is especially nice when the overalls are a gift and you literally do have to put your name on them for the person that you are giving them to. Speaking of taking the time to talk to other moms, I recently had a friend encourage me that she sews with her toddler around, and so I have been doing that too, and it has been so fun, and I get to sew more often. So if you need the encouragement to do one of your favorite hobbies with your toddlers around, this is the permission to try it. If it doesn't work out, no worries, but with sewing, I have found that this is something that we can do together, and we actually both have a lot of fun. Oftentimes I wonder why, when I know that there are certain things that are really good for me, why is it so hard to actually convince myself to do them? And I suppose that's the $1,000,000 question of self-control and self-discipline. But I think the reason for me is that scrolling is really low-hanging fruit. It's really easy to occupy my mind and convince myself that that is good enough, even though in reality, I know that it's not good enough. I know that I am a better wife and a better mom whenever I put my phone away and work with my hands and focus on homemaking and just leading a simple life. On top of sewing with my toddler around, I recently moved my sewing stuff right next to my kitchen, and this has been probably a bigger game changer than even sewing with my toddler around, because I was finding myself constantly taking a break from sewing to go and do something silly, like put a lid on a pot of rice, and then having to run back to my sewing room. And this just eliminated that. And so because of that, I can sew way more often because it's right where I always am. I have my ironing board in there, my sewing machine, my serger. My fabric is still in another spot, but if I can just get a pattern cut out and started, I can work on it so much more often than I used to be able to. And that has been really, really cool. So if you sew and you want a way to sew way more often, put your sewing stuff where you already are, and you might find that you have a lot more time to sew than you think you did. At least that's what I found out. Ultimately, I hope that this video is not relatable and that you never ever get caught doom scrolling on your phone. But if you do, I hope that this video was an encouragement to you that maybe a simple sewing project or cooking a nourishing meal for your family might just pull you right out of it. As always, thank you so much for joining me here on our sweet sunny days. I will see you guys here next week.